welcome back to the channel again. This is Sam, trying to spin to win on Zwift. Well, we're back in the ring again for another edition of Zwift Fight Club. I'm really not a boxer, am I? So, after getting our backsides handed to us in the last club ladder race,
that really hurt.
We now face another team from the Vikings organization, this time Team Ime. I'll go over the team comparison in a second, but this time around, I'd have to say that we go in as the favorites.
You sure about that?
However, it's the team tactics and the legs on the day that matter, not some numbers on an Excel spreadsheet.
Now everything makes sense.
The race will take place on the Glasgow crit circuit, which I think is a great course for this format. So it should hopefully be an entertaining race. With that,
introducing tonight's fighters.
In the blue corner, we have proper Vikings, hailing from Sweden. I present Team Swedish Swifters Bifrost. In the red corner, from Norway, more pretend Vikings, Ime. The Vikings Ime team is from the same club as the Valgrind team we faced a few days ago.
It's not good at all!
However, the picture is quite different this time around. In this case, we are, at least on paper, the stronger team across the board.
But don't you get too cocky.
For example, our average velo score is almost 240 points above Ime's, which is a considerable difference. And our watts per kilo figures are better for all time periods, especially over 5 minutes. This is for sure very useful information as you plan your strategy for the race. However, while the figures are in our favor this time, this is certainly not a slam dunk for us. Team tactics and how good your legs are on the day are what really matters in the end. The race today will take place over 6 laps of the Glasgow crit circuit. Each lap is around 3 kilometers long with around 34 meters of elevation. So in total, we will do 18 kilometers with almost 200 meters of climbing. It has been a while since I've done a club ladder race on a crit course, so this should be interesting. I actually like this particular crit course since you need to do at least one decent effort each lap up the Clyde kicker. And after the Clyde kicker, there are some rollers where, if you get good legs, you can put in a second effort in order to try to get away. I would expect we will see lots of attacks in today's race, probably from both teams, and I would not be surprised if we will have some separation into different smaller groups of riders battling it out. Enough chit-chat, let's get this party started.
Let's race.
And we're off. And Bifrost is sprinting out of the gate. We learned our lesson from our race the other day and wanted to see if we could catch Ime napping, or if not, perhaps at least drop 1 or 2 of their riders right away. At first, Ime responds very well, but then it seems like one rider, Stian, was struggling a bit. So we kept the pace reasonably high for the first couple of minutes, and the gap to Stian slowly grew to a few seconds, which, with the Clyde kicker coming up soon, would hopefully ensure that he didn't catch back on. We then approached the Clyde kicker where we wanted to make another push. Not completely flat out, but hard enough that it will hurt the legs of the Ime team, and if we could drop another rider, that would of course be a nice bonus. As we get towards the top of the Clyde kicker, I start pushing quite hard, and again I managed to unclip at the exact wrong moment. I need to fix this issue ASAP as it's really annoying. As we start going down the rollers after the first Clyde kicker, I thought I'd quickly go over our tactics for the day. As already shown, we wanted to sprint right away and then go hard up the first Clyde kicker. We would then see what damage, if any, we had caused. After that, we plan on covering their attacks and go hard up each Clyde kicker for a few more laps. Then we would try to get a rider away, and if Ime covered, then we would go again and again until we got at least one rider away. Then if that rider did get a bit of a gap, we would see if another rider could bridge. And if that bridge attempt brought the whole group with him, then he would knock it off right away. Otherwise, bridge and then ensure we finish first and second, or at least top 2 spots in the top 3, as that would put us in a good spot to win the overall race. The rest of the team would then draft, as Ime would hopefully try to cover the attacks and either put in another attack or wait for the sprint finish. Okay, we're now approaching the second time up the Clyde kicker. We again push pretty hard to see if we can force a separation, but the Ime team still fresh, it seems like, because they cover pretty well. We have now skipped forward a bit to the end of the third lap. This lap was a bit slower, as I think everybody was a bit tired from the hectic start. And while we pushed hard again up the Clyde kicker for the third time, Ime again covered that attack pretty well. However, this is where Jan and our team starts to push away. He did this very well, I think, since he didn't sprint. He just steadily increased his lead until all of a sudden he had a bit of a gap. During this time, the rest of our team set up to let Ime chase, but they seemed okay to let him go. We then draft behind Ime for a while, and Jan increases his lead to around 7 seconds. As we start going up the Clyde kicker on the 4th lap, I then make the decision, probably a bit too early if I'm honest, to bridge the gap to Jan. I think it was the right place to do it, but I think Jan ideally should have had a slightly bigger lead before I attempted it. Anyway, I kicked pretty hard, and it seemed that only one rider on the Ime team could cover fully, and that was Kai, their main sprinter. As we catch up to Jan at the top of the Clyde kicker, we have a small gap to the rest, and Jan and I keep pushing to make sure we stay away. At this point, I don't really care that Kai is with us because, as already mentioned, if we can have 2 in the top 3, then our chances of winning the race is pretty high. And hopefully we can deal with Kai a little bit later in the race. We have now skipped ahead a bit to lap 6, and we are approaching the final climb up the Clyde kicker. Jan and I had kept the pace reasonably high, and we had maintained about a 10-second gap to this chasing group. And actually, behind us, there had been some action, and the main group had actually split into 2 packs of 3 riders each. At this point, I tell Jan that I'm gonna go for broke and see if I can drop Kai. I know he has a massive sprint, so my chance is to get him on the Clyde kicker and then hopefully stay away. And Jan can then hopefully also get a free ride drafting behind Kai. As I start my effort, I do get a bit of separation right away, but Kai is covering pretty well. As we start up the Clyde kicker though, I can see that I'm starting to slowly increase the gap, and I push as hard as I can over the top, then catch a bit of rest on the small descent thereafter, and I now have about 4 seconds on Kai. But I need to keep the effort up, as I know he can probably close very fast at the end. So I push hard while still trying to get some rest on the descents, and it seems the gap is slowly growing to Kai. And with around 500 meters to go, I know that unless I completely hit the wall, I'm gonna finish first. So I knock off the effort somewhat towards the end, as I'm watching Jan desperately trying to close on Kai. In the end, I think Jan needed probably another 100 meters or so, as I think Kai was tiring quite a bit at the end. But he does finish second, closely followed by Jan, with the rest coming in shortly thereafter. I have to be honest here, I did have to adopt the fiddle position for a good minute after I fell off the bike. I was proper tired at the finish today. Looking at the results, we can see that I won a few seconds ahead of Kai and Jan. Magnus and Brian had a sprint ding-dong for 4th and 5th, with Dan a few seconds after them. Then we had another sprint finish between Steve, Kenneth and Erland, and Stian coming in last place. Overall, a comfortable win for Bifrost from a points perspective, but in reality, I thought this was a well-contested race.
Whew. That was a close one.
I think Kai in particular was very impressive. I think he's even a Cat C rider, and he finished last in the recent ladder race against the Swedish Zwifters Loki team. So to finish second in this race was an extremely good effort, I think. Overall, there were also some pretty good numbers, with both Jan and Brian over 4 watts per kilo for the duration of the race. Poor Brian didn't have his steering enabled, so he ate a lot of wind. But then again, he is Danish, and those guys are just crazy in general.
I mean, they seem totally bonkers.
Okay, few post-race thoughts as usual. I have to admit, it took me a couple of minutes to get off the floor after that one. I was proper tired at the end. Whew. Really good race, lots of action, and I must congratulate the IME team. They're tougher than I thought they would be, so chapeau to you guys. That was really hard fought. So we started off, we thought we'll do exactly what the other team did the other day, Valgrind, and just go for a bit of a kick at the start. And I think it worked. I think we dropped one of the IME guys there. And then it was a proper crit race where everybody punched pretty hard up the Clyde kicker and then rested, and we did it again for a few laps. I thought we kept the pace pretty high most of the time just to try to tire the other team out. And then one of our guys, Jan, went ahead, almost snuck away, and the other team didn't chase. So I waited until he was about 10-12 seconds ahead. We're coming up to the Clyde kicker. I said, okay, I'm gonna go see if I can bridge and drop everybody else. And if I couldn't bridge, then I would tire everybody else out. So that's a win. And if I couldn't bridge, now we got 2 up front and hopefully we can go away. So that'd be another win. But one of the guys from the IME team, Kai, I think, managed to hang on, which I was impressed. I didn't think he would do that. So again, chapeau to him. So then there's me, Jan, and Kai at the front, and we have about a 10-second gap, and we maintained that through the rest. And with about, I don't know, 1.5 kilometers or so, I told Jan I would go, see if I could get away. And I think Kai chased me for a bit, and then I did get, a 5-7 second gap, and I held that to the end, ahead of Kai and then Jan. And then I think the rest of the guys were fighting really hard for their spots further back. So all in all, a really good race, really enjoyed it. So a win for Bifrost, which is needed. We'd lost a few in a row there, but again, I thought the IME team were stronger than I thought they would be. So again, my hat's off to them. I think we'll call it there. Need a bit of a rest now. There's been like 5 or 6 days on the bike in a row. So yeah, good race. This is Sam, trying to spin to win on Zwift, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.